Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sisto Says, powered by Design 2147, a New York City building and code consulting firm. Today, I have a good friend of mine, Jason Hudson from Cornerstone Land Abstract. Jason, welcome aboard.
Thank you, man.
Thanks
Glad
for-
to be here. This is great.
Thanks for taking some time out of your busy day, because we know how busy you guys are.
We're trying.
So Jason and I just became members of BizDevel, which is a commercial real estate networking group, where we're the newbies.
We are the newbies.
And through our interview process, I had to speak to Jason, and he got to interview me. And within a few minutes, we realized that there was a connection. It was great. And thank you.
No, my pleasure.
And looking forward to working with everybody on the team. So we started talking a little bit about, what you do, what I do, and it came up that, you're in the title insurance world. And first of all, you don't just go to high school and college and wake up and say, when I grow up, I want to be in the title insurance
No,
building.
that's not exactly how it played out, for sure.
So tell us a little bit about how you're here in New York City,
Yeah.
Because originally from the Midwest, and how you ended up in this business and being the owner of the business and doing it day to day.
Yeah, so my journey began in a small rural town in Kansas, about 500 people. Graduated college with a sports management degree with the grandiose ambition of working for a professional sports organization.
Like every young man's
And
dream.
What I quickly found out was it's extremely difficult to initially get into an organization of any level, mid-size, semi-pro, and even professional. Found a sports academy in Portland, Oregon, went through a 3-month training program out there, and one of their clients was the New York Mets.
Oh, great.
Interviewed with the New York Mets, accepted the position, moved to New York City in January of 2002.
Wow.
First time I'd ever been in New York City, and I was working for the Mets.
Good for you.
I was selling season tickets and luxury boxes.
There you go. You're a salesman.
I was pushed into sales.
Notice the background.
I like
Orange and blue.
Very nice.
Die-hard
Very
Met
nice.
fan.
Very good. And began my sales experience and my New York City journey through the Mets. And he was my best client, owned a title insurance agency. He was in Midtown Manhattan, and he and I became friendly.
Oh, wow.
Over the first course of that year, we began forming a friendship. Lunch, dinners, and just got to know one another. And I realized about month 10, 11, or 12 that I wasn't making any money in sports. The business card with my name on it was not paying my rent.
That's right.
And he said, come work for me, Jason. And I said, dude, I have no clue what title insurance is. I don't know what a deed is. I don't know what a mortgage is. And he goes, don't worry about it. I'll teach you. Took the plunge, started with him in early 2003, back office, just copies, scans, and I started in the recordings department. So I was filing deeds and mortgages.
Going down to the Department of Finance.
Exactly. And then from there, I transitioned into a title closer role. So I was physically the representative for the
notary.
title. Yep. Got the notary. Was running around New York City, Queens, Brooklyn, notarizing documents, just finalizing a transaction. And then I got into sales with him for a little bit. And then I left his firm in 2010, joined Cornerstone, my company now, in early 11, and 2 years into my participation or my joining Cornerstone, I became a partner.
Oh, good for you. Congratulations.
I guess I showed the value. I brought in business, and then from that point forward, it's just been growing Cornerstone. It's putting out a good product, and now I'm stuck in title insurance.
Well, that's a great story.
Yeah.
And there's one of the other episodes with Katie Osborne. My father used to have a saying when I started this business. He said, in his Italian accent, he said, "But sister, you studied to be an architect. You're not an architect. You go to the building department." I go, "Dad, but that's part of architecture." Yeah. And so we always have a different dream, right? We start off somewhere, but life takes us through a different path. So here we are today, and one of the reasons I asked you to come on the show is that currently, right now, I have my home for sale.
Yep.
I hopefully have an accepted offer in Stamford, Connecticut, and in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go to a closing, and there's going to be a line item that says title insurance, and there's this number there. And every time when we've purchased a lot of buildings over the years, we own some stuff up in the Bronx, we own some stuff here in Brooklyn, is so what really is it? And I think that if you walk down the street and you ask 9 out of 10 people, most of them don't really know.
No.
So I thought this was a great opportunity for you to come in and, like, you know, on a basic level, it's more than just insurance. What you guys do is way more than that. But break it down on a simplistic level, what really title insurance is, and then we're going to talk about the other things that are tied into title insurance that affects development in our world, and how we're going to talk a little bit about how design participates with title companies when we do zoning studies, when we look at vacant pieces of property that has easements and things like that. So tell us really what title insurance is to start.
Yeah, you're not in the you're in the norm. Most people don't understand fully what title insurance is. Like I said, 20 plus years. I don't think my parents know what it is. I don't think my wife fully understands what it is. But title insurance is a unique product in the sense that it's the only title, it's the only insurance product that moves in the rear. So think about your car insurance. You're buying car insurance, and your protection is forward. Title insurance is protecting
backwards.
you from the history of the property.
That's a great analogy.
So as the property is transacted and transferred, there are a number of items and things that can come up. So what we do is we do a comprehensive report on the property, and we search it back 100 years. So we make sure that once you, as the consumer, buying the piece of property, that you sign the deed today, June 13th, that I know exactly for a fact that I am the sole owner, and that
there's no incumbents, and
there's no liens, there's no judgments, there's no open mortgages, your property taxes are paid in full, there's no water bills, there's no open permits, there's no violations. Clean start, run with it.
Got you. So in essence, the insurance you're buying, which is called title insurance, ensures you that you understand what you're getting previously.
Yes.
And part of that, so in our business, many times, universities will come to us and say, "Hey, Sisto, we got this report from the title company. We own 17 buildings on this site, 100-acre sites, college here in New York City, and they came up with all these violations. We don't know where they came from."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, Sisto, how could that be?" And I'm like, "Well, you probably got notices in the mail, and no one reacted to them. And then over time, and then all of a sudden it becomes panic mode because they go to remortgage, or they need a grant, or they're getting, financing from somewhere, whether it's private or government or bank or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, you got to clean up all these violations." So a company like yours, we get this report, and it's about this big, and we go through it, and we can't, as expediters, code consultants, we only have access to certain pieces. So when we go to the fire department, we get a piece. When we go to the building department, we get a piece. We get online, we get another piece. We go to DEP, and we get another piece. But title companies go in far more in depth and are able to find more. So take us through that process. We have a building in Brooklyn. What does in the back office, what's really going on for them to search all of those violations and locate them?
Yeah, so we do a really extensive deep dive into a property, and not only from the perspective of us as the title insurance agent, but we also recognized about 5 or 6 years ago the power of data, and we formed our own municipal search company.
Correct.
So we have the ability to scrape multiple 20, 30, 40 different websites within the municipalities and pulled data, raw data. And then with our experience in-house, we compile it and we decipher it, and then we present it to the client for them to either start to cure the process or just to
Or at
educate
least,
them.
right? And again, in that, a lot of times, we'll get clients who bought a property, they held money in escrow, and they say, okay, if you clean up these 5 violations, then we'll release the escrow.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, they don't really know what they got themselves into.
Yes.
So now they come to us and they're like, yeah, well, they held 30,000. I'm like, well, no, they say you got these problems. These problems cost 50,000 to fix.
Yeah.
So the education process is really important, that whoever is reading that document, whoever is buying the property or selling the property, truly understands that it's not as simple as you think it is, that, and having the ability to get that raw data. We don't get that, right?
Yeah.
We get to go to the building department, we put in a search. We go to the fire department, we put in a search. You actually have the ability as a recognized municipal search company that you get access to different places. So a lot of times when clients come to us, we say to them, well, do you have a title company? Go to your title company, and they
What's
probably
that?
you're right, and they go, well, we don't really buy anything. I know.
Yeah.
Well, you don't just go to a title company because you buy something.
Yep.
You go to a title company because you need history, you need information, you need current information, maybe you need old information. Yep. So it's not just about what it is in your closing statement, because the function that you provide for the client is not just at a closing.
Yeah, it's far more than just a premium that you pay at a closing.
Correct.
The information that's provided, I mean, you dumb it all the way down. We're a service provider. We're providing a service to the consumer through the data that we uncover. And us as a service provider, there are a number of cases, a number of clients that we service that never actually buy a policy, which is not always great for us.
Right.
But the idea is that you service the client, you provide them with the data, they cure the violation or the open permit, and then at some point in the life cycle of their real estate career, they're going to need your services as a title insurance provider.
And doing this for my 39th year now, I can't tell you how many times, never on our projects, but someone who works at an architectural firm or a contractor or somewhere that's not in the legal field say, my uncle owned a house in Maspeth and they're selling it. He passed away. We're ready to close. He put, a deck on the back of his house.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself, wow, those title insurance companies, they find everything. And you say to yourself, they found this from 1938. It was an old BN for an edition that they never signed off. It was all record keeping. And that is really the way the analogy you used was fantastic. I love it, because on this show, I always talk about going forward. Your job is to look back and give the history. The other thing that we always talk about, which I think in your business is similar to our business, is someone once said to me, so what would you compare your business to? And the gentleman had said to me, I know what your business is. And I says, what's that? He goes, you're like a nurse. I said, a nurse? I couldn't get it together. And he said, you know what what you do is you tell your customers, you hold their hand and tell them everything's going to be all right. Here are the facts. Yeah. This is what we got, but we're going to help you navigate it. And it is so on point.
Yes.
And I believe that now that the way you've explained title insurance to me, it's very similar, because you get to tell the story and say, look, you're buying this. This is what you should be aware of. it's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you don't do X, Y, and Z.
And we got you.
And we got you. And that's what you're paying
Yeah.
for.
Let me hold your hand. It's all going to be okay.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
But you got to know what you're buying. So for us, we have similar clients. We're in the charter school, private school. We do a lot of schools. One of your main clients does that.
Yep.
Congratulations to you.
Thank
And
you.
to them. They do a great job.
Thank
Is they look at sites. They go to you. They come to us. Hey, we want to build a 30,000 square foot school. We're going to buy this site. All of a sudden, you dive into it. We dive into it. We go to do a zoning study. You've already noticed where there was an easement. There's an underground, easement or right of way for a water, sewer plant. A storm water pipe. We had a job like that where it was massive. DEP was like 6 feet in diameter.
Wow.
Taking all of Brooklyn, sending it somewhere. Went right underneath our building. All of those things someone just doesn't know it. The title company finds it for them.
Yes.
And you guys make sure that whoever takes that property understands it. And I can't tell you how many times people have purchased things and didn't really understand what the easement represented. That it goes from the ground all the way to the moon. There's no, it's only 10 feet tall. No, it goes from here to there and it never stops.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that and how that really gets recorded time after time and how you advise the clients of these, whether it's an easement, a right-of-way, any of those.
We take a really strong stance with all of our developer clients to engage with us early on in the process. The earlier on that you start talking to us about a proposed site, the more time we have to uncover any potential.
And gather the data.
Exactly. Perfect example is we just closed on a charter school development site. It's been now 3 weeks ago. We started on the initial purchase of this property 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
Developer client came to me. We've got a site. We want to buy it. Start running some searches, and that's the best thing you can ever hear from your developer client.
and now that I'm in the market of selling my home and looking for another home, the first thing I always do is I go to the municipal building department and I go to that address and I go down there myself and I say to the woman who's there, "Hey Mary, I'm looking at this house on Main Street. Can you tell me if there's any open applications?" Because before I put in a bid, I don't want to get wrapped up that they put an addition on or they put a deck on, and then
What's
the
really going
nightmares.
on?
Yeah. So knowing that A is great for the client because even though they may spend some money with you up front, it's a bargaining chip. Hey guys, look, you're asking for $5 million for this piece of property. You got all these problems. If we want to purchase it, you got to clean it up. And we're not going to be surprised the day we're ready as we get closer. So, to me, that is a really valuable piece of information that even though when you're doing your due diligence to purchase the property, your office is the nurse.
Yes.
Hey, this is the problem. Everything looks good, but be aware. They have this, they have this, they have this. What's the path? How are we going to fix it prior to the closing? Or are we gonna fix it after the closing? Is it relevant? Is it not relevant?
Yeah, and it's us acting in the capacity as the nurse, and then our 4 in-house counsel are the doctors, the surgeons that are dissecting this property. And what we uncovered on that site was that over the course of 150 years, that there were street widenings, street narrowings, there was a gore strip that we didn't fully understand who owned it. And all of that factors into what the developer is able to build. Correct. It all affects their FAR, their ability to build the maximum amount of square footage.
And especially with charter schools, they need every inch they can get because the land is so expensive, and they work on tight budgets. They're getting federally funded from some point or privately, whatever they're doing. So every inch counts. Listen, anywhere in New York City, every inch counts.
Yes.
We know that because the ground is just so expensive. So here we are. We talk about real estate in New York City. It's a big part of the show. You do a lot of closings.
Yes. Not as many as we'd like, but we're getting there.
On the residential side, it's insane.
Yes.
It seems like the numbers just interest rates go up. Yep. We read globally, interest rates are through the roof. People have stopped buying. I haven't seen that trend anywhere. It's just people pay more, they find more. The interest rates aren't affecting them because they're different than when my father bought real estate and he paid 16% on a mortgage.
Exactly right.
Now the mindset is, okay, so they're 9.5, they're 8.5. Don't worry, in 5 or 6 years, you just refinance. Yeah. So the mindset and the product is different. It's easier to refinance, it's easier to do these things. So lo and behold, I was out to lunch yesterday with a developer, and my question to him is, he's a Queens developer, does a lot of work in Queens and Long Island, but mostly Queens. And I said, so what do the numbers look like for land? And he goes, exactly the same.
Yeah, not coming down.
Not coming down. So is that what you're seeing on your end also?
Yeah. The cost of dirt is stayed pretty consistent. There was a time where pre-485X, price of land was starting to come down a little bit. But what I've also heard from investment sales people that we work with is that now that program is kind of gotten greenlit, is that now owners of properties are like, oh, let's push this price back up because now it's worth a little bit more.
Right, and just touching base on that, I did a podcast on 485X, just general questions, and it's already been out a couple of weeks, and I've been talking to a lot of developers, and they really haven't gotten their hands around it yet because when it comes out, everything sounds great. Mm-hmm. But then when a developer puts pen to paper and they start to get into the nitty gritty of it, is it as good as they thought? We don't know, right? Perfect example, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but a really good friend of mine calls me up on Friday night and he says, hey, Sisto, they extended the 421A, right? It's like 9 o'clock at night on Friday night. I had dinner, had a glass of wine. I'm like, well, wait a second. I better watch what I say, right? So, and he was spot on. He said they extended it, right? I said, yes, they extended it. I got online right away. I said, look, these are the dates. This is what I know. And then he started asking me specific questions. I said, listen, I'm not an attorney. I don't know about tax abatements. I don't know about rents. I don't know about any of that. And he called me back and he said, thank you, sister. You steered me in the right direction. I called my guy and he said, and these were his words, I don't know if it to be fact, but he said, if you stay within the program and you finish by 2026, you get these breaks. But the extension has different rates, different abatements because they gave you more time. Mm-hmm. So again, and I'm not saying it's bad. It may be great. I don't know. Yeah. But on the premise, it's like, we gave you an extension, so everybody's all gun ho. But now they went to look at it. Okay, so you gave them the extension, but are you going to give them less back in an abatement?
It starts to unravel.
And then it starts to unravel. So it changes in a million ways. So I asked this question to most of my guests because it's part of where we've evolved to. When I was in college, we didn't use CAD, we used pen and paper, pencil and a T-square, So here we are today. We now have a lot of AI stuff. We have, years ago, everybody in the municipal title company had a badge on. They were running around the building department. You talk about computers. You talk about, mining through all of these databases to find the information you need. Tell us a little bit about how the business has changed from when you first got into it in the late, 2008, around there, and then 2010, and where we are in 2024, and where do you see it going, and how reliable is that information now?
I think the biggest probably visual change that I've seen is that it's a lot more digitized, where we used to have mounds and mounds and mounds of paper.
Oh, yeah.
It was everywhere. We had storage
I used to look
room.
at
it was
the reports were like this.
Now our office is very clean, and everything is digitized. Everything's on a cloud. Everything is saved digitally.
And you could access
and
it.
you can access it anywhere. So I think that the access to data has become extremely prevalent. I think that our ability to access and decipher has gotten even more efficient, which speeds up the process for our clients. And I think that we're still at the very tipping edge.
Oh,
tipping
we're at the
point.
beginning of it.
Yeah, this thing is going to evolve because, in my personal opinion, I think that real estate in general, whether you look at brokerage, whether you're capital markets, whether you look at title insurance, I still think it's very archaic. I think that there's a lot of room for innovation, change, and we're trying to be one of those companies that is the innovator
On the cutting edge.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, and it's funny that you say that. When I started the podcast, March of 2023, the team at Why Not You Media did a whole bunch. We spent 6 months researching, who's out there doing this. And I always said, oh, I'm so late to the party. Everybody's doing it. And the reality is there really wasn't. And you're right. In every business, you seem like you think you're the pioneer, but a lot of times you're not the pioneer, but you're not really on the back of the line either. So I find that today, even with my children that are in their 30s and late 20s, that when I give them a piece of paper, they're like, "What's this?" Like this is like Abe Lincoln writing on a piece of slate with chalk. But you're right. Everybody's expecting everything that people can sit wherever they are on a phone and say, "Oh, okay. Well, I just got my title report from Jason. I'm just going to pull over on the highway. I'm going to go right to the section I need, and I just." Flip my way through it, and there it is. Whereas before, when are you overnighting it? Can you remember back in the day when they would fax it to us? It would take 40 minutes for the fax to come
Hard
through.
copies and faxes.
Oh
yes.
my God, it was brutal. And then you would look at it. They made a photocopy of the iCard from HPD, and they made a photocopy of the book showing the sign if you couldn't read anything.
No.
So it's really, I'm sure that it's come a very, very long way. So small residential, large commercial, Cornerstone does everything.
We do it all.
And what areas do you cover besides that?
So we are licensed in New York and New Jersey. So that gives us the ability and capability to insure deals throughout the entire state of New York and the entire state of New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
We do have national strategic partners that we can still insure and get deals done and closed.
Like Connecticut or whatever.
Across the country.
Okay.
But our real bread and butter is New York. I mean, we focus, I would say, 80% of our business is the 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx,
Staten
Island, not so much here and there. Yeah.
Well, because Staten Island is really, even for us, we do a lot of work in Staten Island, but nowhere. We do the bigger projects in Staten Island, but we don't do the smaller ones because the smaller projects, there's so many, the businesses that have been there for decades. So that's part of the dynamic. So all of New York, all of New Jersey, strategically work with anywhere.
Anything that's real property, single-family homes, two-family homes, condos, like we mentioned, ground-up development, office, hotel, industrial.
Everything.
Anything and everything. Anything that's real property.
Awesome. So at the end of every show, who I'm soon going to be collecting royalties from, is my good friend Andrew Peters from Curry and Brown. He is a cost estimator. He comes to BizDevel from time to time. Great gentleman, one of my dear friends. And when he came on the show, his job is to tell the charter school that they bought the land today, they're going to build it in 3 years from now. How much is it going to cost? And how much do we have to fundraise? And how many grants do we have to go get? Doesn't have a plan, doesn't know what it's going to look like, kind of gets a sense of what the client's looking for. Hey, we want a multi-purpose. We want enough for, 500 kids. And he has to guess and give this person or this board, it's going to cost you $1,100 a square foot, or it's going to cost you $1,500 a square foot, and that's his job. So he has to look backwards, but look more forward. You made a great point that in your business, you're really ensuring the past so that the person that acquires it or the team that acquires it knows what they're getting.
Yes.
But in your business, you need to look forward.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that I ask all the guests is, you're on today, you get the opportunity to come back in a year from now, but we need you to make a little bit of prediction, and I'm going to ask you two questions about the prediction. One is, where do you see your business, which you answered a little bit, but where do you see your business and what your business does evolving? And two, as we sit here today with the 485X, with the extension of the 421A, do you think that will help our businesses as we go forward, as we've been through this stretch where it kind of just, they kick the feet out from under us?
Yeah. For us personally, for me personally, for my business, for my company, what I see us doing as far as our innovation and change over the next year is that we're going to continue to educate the consumer. And when I say consumer, I don't necessarily mean the real estate professional. We want to really educate
Everybody.
to
know, just like we started the
Yes.
show. So what is it, title?
What is this? And we're taking a real strong stance with our marketing efforts, with our ability to reach out to the consumer, the person that's buying a piece of property, whether it's a husband and wife or a single professional person buying their first home. We want to educate them and advise them on how this process actually works.
And what it is.
And what it is. Because we feel like if you're going to spend money on a product, you kind of should know what you're buying.
100%.
Understand what it does. And for the longest time, again, I'll go back to the point I made before, is that our industry has been very archaic and we haven't done a good job of educating the consumer. So I think that over the next year, you will see us continue to grow that presence and really push out the collateral, the effort, the marketing presence for the consumer. That's more on the residential side. On the commercial side, I'm still on the fence on the 421A extension and the 485. I just don't have, I probably don't have enough information on hand.
I feel the same way.
To make an accurate prediction. What I can predict is that the political aspect of all of it just continues to get in the way and slow down the process.
No question about it.
And I don't want to be political at all.
But that is government. And one of the things, as we wrap up, one of the things that I've learned from this show, Jason, is that the government and private enterprise have to partner.
Yes.
Without that partnering, there is nothing.
That's what happened over the last couple of years.
Right, and that's why a lot of developers left New York and they went to Nashville and they went to Florida and they went to Chicago and they went somewhere else where there was the ability for that partnership. So I think they've cracked the door open.
Yep.
I think we have that ability. We've gotten some calls.
Yes.
But this theory that after COVID they were going to open the faucet, and it never happened. No. It's been a trickle. Yeah. I mean, there's just no, it's just slow. So I God willing, we're going to get there. I always appreciate any professional taking the time out to make time for my show. I thank you for coming in. And we are going to have a follow-up. We're going to do a newsletter on a Q&A about what title insurance is, because I think this was incredibly informative, not only for myself personally, because now I really know what it means.
Good.
Jason, thank you.
Thank you, Sisto. Appreciate your
Perfect.
time. Thank you.